know where the most comfortable place in the world to go is?
Target.
And it's because everything in the toy aisle at Target has been there for 30 years.
And I just keep buying and buying and buying and buying.
So for this episode, I did a very unusual thing.
Research?
Now I feel bad. So a few hours ago, I went to Target and I took pictures of the action figure aisle, everything that was there. And the point of doing that was to show that almost nothing that is available in boys action right now, other than Roblox and maybe Minecraft, is a license that wasn't around, that hasn't been around for 20 years, or even since we were kids. The biggest things on the shelves are Star Wars, wrestling, Marvel, DC, Transformers. What I wanted to talk about today is I don't think that you can argue against the idea that, let's say, 70% majority of what's in the boys action aisle is a license, is intellectual property from when we were kids. And then, you know, everything that comes back that we get excited about, like DuckTales, is, you know,
that's totally 80s,
a redo of an 80s or 90s
so
property.
Are you saying are you asking if it's a bad thing?
Because if you remember when we were kids, every year would see something brand new, and that was just weird as shit. You know, one year you got Star Wars, then you got cars turning into robots, then you got like bug puppets that, you know,
Bigfoot,
Stretch Armstrong,
cross boss.
But that's my question. So is it bad in the sense to say, you know what, it's a real shame that there aren't new things that are being invented? Is it because all of this toy shelf room is taken up by old ideas? You know, the fact there's a whole Star Wars aisle, is that choking out innovation?
I have a theory.
Or is it okay because all of these properties are getting refreshes every 3-4 years, so a new group of kids gets a new version?
Yes
for them?
and no, because I know that this probably started from a nostalgia. So we became adults and we became, you know, able to have purchasing power, which, like, people like us will go and we'll buy these toys because we want them for our collection. We like them. We want, you know, you guys want your kids into stuff that you grew up with because you're familiar. There's so many stories I've heard of people who grew up with Pokemon, and now they're able to share that love of Pokemon with their kids, and it's a bonding experience with them.
Now, so, yeah, my theory, exactly what you're talking about. I feel people, when they're kids, they're now about our age, and now they have these jobs in the comic industry, the game industry, the toy industry. They look back and are like, what did I enjoy playing? He-Man. Well, the He-Man license is dead. How much can I buy it for? $20. Hey, for $20, I can resurrect He-Man. Good deal. I can resurrect He-Man. And in fact, that has happened. We have new He-Man.
Times.
We have She-Ra. We have people like us that go in and have these job positions. They have this very strong, like, I loved He-Man, She-Ra, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, all this stuff from back in the day. Okay. And if I had, like, the ability to buy that IP and produce a game, produce toys or whatever, I want to do it. And then the second thing is exactly what she's talking about.
Hang on.
What's going to sell?
Wait for your second point. Because your first point, I agree with to a point, except for the fact that the model you've described isn't how it works. The same people own the license now to Transformers and Turtles and Voltron and everything else that owned it when we were kids. Well, so it's just them saying, you know what?
Now our age.
No. I'm not saying that, but it's not like somebody like dusting off an old license they got at a yard sale. This is companies saying, now's our chance to recycle this old IP.
I'm not saying that you're not. I'm not saying you're wrong. But what I am saying is
that I'm right.
I'm saying that I discovered colonizer. I discovered that, okay, for the example of She-Ra, it's not like the rights to She-Ra went away, but now people in position who are making animation can go, hey, She-Ra hasn't done anything in a long time. Let me call Hasbro. Is that who owns She-Ra? I don't know. Mattel. Let me call, I should know that because I watched the Netflix show. Let me call Mattel and say, hey, I want to resurrect your IP. And they're like, well, it's not doing anything. Let's go do it. So that was what I was making with point one. Yeah. Point two is exactly what you're talking about. what sells? And this is why I think creativity is dead. What would you rather buy? Something new or something familiar that you know? People who are selling these things know that you walk into an aisle and you see Star Wars, you see He-Man, you see She-Ra, you see the things that you grew up with. You are much more likely to buy something you've seen, sequel-itis or whatever, versus new stuff. New stuff is difficult to sell. Obviously, I'm in the gaming industry. This is something that games deal with too. That's why it's much more easy to sell something like Resident Evil 2 than something like Celeste.
And
you want to say easy, but safer.
Safer. And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So things like Steven Universe, they have limited toys, and I've noticed this. There's limited toys for newer properties than the older properties.
Yeah, and
they
is
do
that,
have newer
is
animations.
that because they can't get toy shelf space?
See, I don't
Could
know.
be.
I
There's
would
only so much
say
finite
that.
space. You're absolutely right.
Well, I wonder how long it's been going on, right? Because we've always had Barbies. Like, kids have always had access to Barbies since, what, 50s, 40s,
And
whatever.
Barbies have just started to change now.
Well, no, but I
With
mean,
body
it's
types
still
and everything.
Barbie. It doesn't matter if they change the body or if they started introducing
it's-
Black Barbie,
it's the
Chinese
same
Barbie.
IP.
It's the same toy that has been around with that name since the 50s or whatever. And I wonder why, maybe in the 80s we got really creative, or the toy companies got creative with and there was this huge boom.
There's a reason that the 80s exploded into toys, which is deregulation of the toy and commercial advertising. You couldn't have children's content that's the primary purpose of which was to sell toys.
Right.
So
That's why they had to introduce a comic book line or something with He-Man.
exactly.
Right.
So that's
But they have Lego commercials from beforehand.
you could have commercials, but you couldn't have scripted and like shows.
Entertainment.
The
Right.
primary purpose of which was to sell
Like,
toys.
hey kids, go buy cigarettes.
Yeah, I mean, He-Man was like one of the first big cartoons designed to sell toys. There were a couple before that, but
got you.
He-Man was the first big.
Now, could it be something that these toy companies, for newer properties, they don't own these animations? Before, Hasbro, had these animations made
they had the
to
toy
sell their
line
soul.
exactly.
Right, and so now they're going to have to individually go to these property holders and say, we would like to make a toy. We want most of the profits. Oh, you don't.
That's not your opening statement.
I mean,
we want your money.
Actually, I think that's really perceptive. I mean, because one, they have no incentive to come up with new things because all of their old things continue to perform.
Right.
So why would you create something that's going to crowd out your own product? And for shows and stuff that are just successful in general, most shows these days aren't built on the let's introduce a new character in every episode and not explain anything, and then they only appear in this episode and they're gone.
Right. And you'll see like Steven Universe properties or newer properties in these little small Hasbro blind boxes, but you don't see it in a action figure line or a specific gear toy line.
Well, those are cheaper to make too. I mean, that's the reason why Funko Pops are so popular, is because they're so cheap to make and they just buy all these properties up. And it's basically the same thing over and over.
For just this product, and that's all you can sell
that
it
narrow license a lot easier. So I guess the question is it a shame?
Yes and no.
It's probably one of these things, like what we said before. It is safe to go with something that people know and recognize, then they'll buy that. It is safe. There is innovation. There is new IP. There are people making new stuff in all of our industries. But what does it take to get it noticed? What does it take to actually have someone go in and buy this? And it costs a lot of money. If I have a new toy, Rob Fox the toy. In order to get people to buy Rob Fox the toy, I have to invest in animation studios. And animation studios aren't cheap. I have to invest in producing quality
3D
toys.
print yourself.
See, that's the thing. Think about how everyone loses their mind when, this thing that doesn't look exactly like the property. People go bonkers. Like, this is junk.
What
I don't
happened
care.
to Berserk? I mean, it's like, that's crap.
Yeah, no one
CG
cares about-
animation.
Well, a lot of it is because we downsize. I mean, that's a huge deal. To answer your question, I'm okay with old licenses. I'm a creature of habit. I like my vanilla. Like, I don't try new things that often.
I mean, and
I'm gonna say yes and no. Like, yes, I really love some of these properties. I love seeing revisions of these old properties.
That's it. Revisions. Yeah. Give me an Optimus Prime with 2 guns, sold.
But on the
Two-gun
flip
Optimus
side,
Prime.
I want to see some of my newer animation in some collectible form, and I'm not getting as much as I would like.
Because Omar buying the same Star Wars and Transformers crap.
I'm sorry, I ran out of space in my house.
Over and over and over.
The point of episodes like this isn't to answer the question, it's to have the discussion. Is it a good thing that everything on toy shelves now is a retread or a reimagining, depending on how you look at it, of things that we had when we were kids? So what do you think? Tell us in the comments below. Also, we'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, tell your friends. Thanks. So when the near mint condition action figures come out, what we're going to need for that is
Dick lashing action.
$1 million. Send your checks to
There will be
me.
one Tina figure.
That's right. That's right.
somewhere.
Tina will be short back.
Arctic Attack Omar.
I'll just be a repainted figure of some other
Omar.